During Pride Month, you're not gonna like the stream. What is up? How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Oh, just hanging out, just big chillin'. Nothing exciting, nothing new. Just existence and all that.
Yeah, this is the first time we've actually like talked before. So yeah, I'm here. I exist.
You're a
I
real
almost spilled my Diet
person.
Coke. Yeah, I almost spilled my Diet Coke, which is
Hang
not good.
on. I have to show everybody this cute little thing that Riddle made. I'm gonna use
Oh
this in
yeah.
the thumbnail. I'm gonna pull this up, but I'm gonna use this in the thumbnail. This is so cute. I
Okay.
loved this. When you sent this to me, it was adorable. Look at how cute this is, you guys. Look at how fucking adorable this is. Isn't this the best thing you've ever seen? I love it. I love it. I'm gonna get that tattooed on my ass. That's how much I love it. That's how much I love it.
Yeah, you lucked out because Riddle's computer just broke. So that was like the last sketch he did before it exploded. So he's working on getting another one, but
I'll take what's given to me. It's so cute. I love it. And it's adorable. I'm a big fan. I'm a big fan.
he's great. You know.
All about that life. So what is going on? You said that you were willing to do a little hangout girl time. And then obviously if people in chat have questions, I think there's like a thing that I can actually do on here. No, I'm not going to do that. That's too complicated. So people have questions in chat. They can ask questions and stuff like that. But for preface, for people who are blissfully unaware of your presence and all of God's great work that you do you want to give just like a little rundown of what you do, what you're kind of known for, at least in the context of like how we are overlapping with each other?
Right, right. So my channel is called I Love Impossible a lot. It's a lot of words. Thank you. My dog's in the background, so ignore him. But I mostly do I started making content around My Little Pony stuff like a long time ago, like when I was in college. And then I did that for until the show ended, and then I kind of branched off to Toby. I kind of branched off to just general animation discussion. So we make our own animations, we talk about animation. It's been a tricky transition because a lot of people only want pony stuff. So, but that's generally what I do. So it's kind of like, like I don't know, I'm trying to think of an example. But yeah, so it's kind of like an analysis channel for animation specifically. So, and then we make our own stuff too.
Okay, sick. Okay, sick. Okay, so from the drama aspect, your kind of introduction into what kind of, got your document and everything into my purview, was the drama basically about your, I would say, collaboration very loosely, with Poppy and Zian, and how that relates back to Lily Orchard. So if you want to connect those dots, that would probably be helpful for people to kind of understand.
Yeah, sure. So I was friends with Lily Orchard for like 3 years. I was in the dark as far as what the allegations were because I always said that that stuff triggered me. I canceled campaign or whatever you want to call it. Can I curse, by the way?
Oh, absolutely. Just no slurs,
Okay.
please, because I'm on Twitch. And then just for clarification, you and Lily only had a friendship. It wasn't any kind of like sexual or romantic
Oh
relationship.
no, she made passes at me all the
Okay.
time, but not all the time, but like
So it was
several
like at
times.
least one-sided, kind of like flirtatious or what have you.
Yeah,
Okay.
she called me out pretty. Like I saw a bit from her comic where she's like, "Oh, I might marry KP," and I'm just like,
Okay.
So that like made the rounds a little bit. So I was actually friends with Michaela first because Michaela was on my production team for a couple of years.
And that's
So
Lily's wife.
yes,
Okay.
Lily's wife, Lily's partner. So I think in hindsight, Lily used Michaela to bait me to be her friend, essentially.
Okay.
So I wouldn't have seeked Lily out on my own because I know generally what's going on, or generally that like there's a bad vibe, but that's all I really knew. But Michaela's like, oh, she's really good, she's really nice, she's amazing. Like Michaela's like over the moon. She still is, as far as Lily stuff. So I was like, fine, fine. So that's kind of how we started talking. And then I remember Michaela said, like, I would ask Michaela things about Lily. And then Michaela said one time, like, you like, we'd appreciate if you just both talk to Lily directly. And I'm like, okay. So that's how Lily started talking to me directly. And, she supported me through the canceled campaign kind of thing. She was the only vocal person that well, one of the few people that were vocal about it. So this was in 2016.
And your cancellation was basically around the editor thing, where you had editors that were editing things for you, and they likened that to owning slaves, correct?
More or less. Basically, it was 4 people. It was uh 2 people that had a positive one person that had a positive experience, 2 people that had like a mixed experience, but they never brought that up to me, and then 1 person who got fired, who lied about being fired to kind of like boast and stuff. So I think it was about a lot of I think not jealousy, but like frustration. Is like, oh, she has all these big productions and she's not paying anyone. That's not fair. But like, I'm not paying myself either. Like, I go to cons and that's about it. But yeah, and then everyone jumped on that based on information that was coming out, based on an anonymous like Twitter essentially. And there was like there was a fake legal thread in there. There was just harassment out the get-go, and I would have been fine listening to complaints if people had them, but this was not the way to do it. Like, I listened to people privately, and we made adjustments. So that was my frustration. Is just like, if people just told me, like that's fine. So yeah, I have a video on my channel about it if you're interested in more information, but that's the super TLDR about it.
Okay. And then, so you said that part of the reason that you were a little bit in the dark or blind to Lily's shenanigans specifically was just, one, it was kind of a sensitive subject for you, which is understandable, obviously. And then in my kind of explorative journey into the Lilyverse, a lot of it seems like really fantastical, right? Where like if somebody comes out and tells you all this crazy shit, you're like, whoa, like no way, there's no way that actually happened. Like, that's crazy. Like, do you have a log for that or something like that? Would you say that part of it was like, one, that you just didn't have, like, you chose not to engage with the information, but also that it was like so out there that it was hard for you to believe? And then what was the push to like kind of get you to actually look at it in earnest?
Right. So all I needed was evidence at the end of the day. Like, and I remember someone talked to me about it, but there was no evidence. So I'm like, well then, people made up stories about me. People made up like, oh, one time she was a bitch at a con, like stuff like that. So I was just like, okay, well, we're in the same boat, right? Because people are just making up bullshit. So, then the Courtney stuff kind of started happening, and I only heard it from Lily's side, because in Poppy and Xena stuff, I didn't like care. I didn't look into it. And like, we talked right before I went to another group, which was Lio Convoys the Senate. But she's like, oh, you're a really good person, because what was happening is the Courtney stuff was being talked about, and then Twitter people like, oh, you're still friends with Lily Orchard. You're still friends with Lily Orchard. I'm just like, yeah, but this seems to be like a bigger volume than normal. So I knew like something was up, and I was probably going to figure it out anyway. So then I mentioned I was talking to Lily in the Senate, and then people directed me to Poppy and Xena's Courtney video. And then that's how I found out. And like, I knew from the get-go Courtney wasn't lying, because I know how hard it is to talk about abuse and just like be open about it. So, it was like, and she has no reason to lie. Like, she's on an internet presence. Like, what's the point? So,
fair enough. That makes sense. So it just kind of like a combination of multiple things, like 1, being closed, 2, kind of having like a soft spot for that, and then 3, just not really being presented with anything other than people saying these things, and then having kind of like that blind spot where people have been saying things about you, so it makes it difficult for you to buy on wholesale without somebody sitting down and saying like, no, here's this, this, and this, which I think is, fair, especially if you're close with somebody.
Yeah, and what I learned too is that people were afraid to bring it up because they didn't want to be the person that was the one who exploded the world, essentially. And I would have been fine with dumping Lily based only on the fan fiction, because that's gross ass shit. But then the other stuff was just like, okay, and the stupid thing is like, Lily was debating all this on Tumblr, and just like, bitch, like, get in a call with Courtney, get in a call with Poppy and Xena, like, just like
squash it. Yeah, like, why are you so hesitant on just getting it over? Yeah
So like, why are you afraid of them if they're just making up bullshit? Because I do that. I just confront people that are making up bullshit, because like, it's not worth my time. So that was the angle as far as me just saying like, well, can you talk to Courtney? Like, fighting about it on Tumblr is kind of dumb.
Yeah. So I am mostly what absorbed me into this like horrible cinematic crossover from hell was obviously the Poppy and Xena stuff. So can you explain a little bit how that came to be, or like a little bit of a timeline on like when you became involved with them and so on?
So this was about September of last year when I saw the Poppy and Xena thing, and I didn't think anything of it. I was like, oh, good for them for giving Courtney a platform kind of thing. So I went in Poppy and Xena's server, and then I found Courtney's server pretty soon after. And and that's when they had the DM with the agreements and stuff like that. But like I said in the doc, like, I just assumed that they would change my name ASAP, and they didn't. And then Poppy saw that as a violation of the agreement. And then she said me wanting to help was like, I made a commitment to be only on their channel, only to help. So Poppy probably already had ideas as far as how she was going to exploit me and my story and stuff like that. And then once I started stepping back, then, that stuff crumbled. But the first red flag was, like, Poppy kind of pressured me in the first DM. So the doc is a little bit out of order, but it was the call with the mods, then it was me talking to Courtney and Courtney's group, and then the Poppy confrontation, the first one. And she was kind of pressuring me, and she's like, we know this, and can't you just get to know me? And I'm just like, I think at this point, Courtney had told me that she had sent, no, I'm getting confused anyway. So I'm just like, I'm done, thanks for letting me know. You have me on DM, hey, goodbye. So Poppy showed that log to Courtney, and then she told me, because Courtney and I were talking, Courtney was my main contact as far as kind of breaking off the communities and stuff like that and getting the information. Because I didn't want to deal with Poppy because I got red flags immediately. But like Courtney said, oh yeah, Poppy showed me that DM, and I'm just like, oh, Poppy didn't ask me about showing it to Courtney, and Courtney was like, well, it's not a big deal. I'm just like, yeah, I agree. It's probably not a big deal, but like she could have asked me before doing that. And then I started to learn about the evil exes and all that stuff. And I'm just like, oh, so Poppy thought I was going to be her golden goose and kind of elevate her and get her out of that sphere and, that kind of thing because of all the controversy that was surrounding her. And it was, I'm just kind of surprised how fast she gained so much controversy. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, it did kind of just explode a little bit like a shaking can of pop. So it sounds to me like you were kind of having concerns about Lily. And then in reading your document, and then also I've caught bits and pieces of your streams where you have talked about it. It sounded like a little bit of it was like you're ready to make this break, like you believe the allegations to be credible based on what people have shown you and things that have been revealed to you with either in private or in public. And so you're getting ready to make this break, and you're kind of doing like, this sounds like so soy, but like a quote unquote offboarding process where you're trying to make sure that, you're doing it in a way that isn't just like, fuck this bitch, like I'm out of here, where it's a little bit more like controlled. And then looking into avenues of like, well, because I was close to this, this is something that I could probably share my perspective on that other people might find helpful in regards to like quarantining Lily, essentially. So with Poppy and Xena, when you branch into their community, I know right off the bat, they were concerned about you sharing things in regards to like you rolling on Lily, and they wanted it to be like a sneak attack and what have you. And when I read through your document, it seemed like a lot of the confusion was just around the idea of like quote unquote hiding you to be like a fucking secret nuke or something like that. What was the inclination that was that ever a conversation that was had, or was that just implied that because you were willing to roll, that you were willing to roll to them?
I think it was like all I said is I wanted to help, and as far as hiding me, like I assume that was just hiding me inside their server. So I didn't see a problem as far as going to Courtney's server and talking, as well as Courtney's server being much smaller and mostly made up of abuse victims anyway, especially people that have been close to Lily or former fans and stuff like that. So I think Courtney's server had like maybe 30, 40 people, while Poppy and Xena's server has like
quite a few more.
Yeah. So, I wasn't really worried about it, and, I felt safe with Courtney because I knew if like someone was a bitch to me, Courtney would go beat their ass. Essentially, that's kind of Courtney's MO.
Very true.
Cool.
Very true.
So, so yeah. So then I started talking, and then that was the whole conversation between Courtney and Poppy, where Poppy was like, "I feel left out," and like Courtney like said to me and kept on saying like she could have just jumped in VC like everyone else, like and that would have been a good strategy for her, because if she was playing the therapist, I'm so sorry, like played that move, I probably would have been more susceptible to get it over with and be on her channel and not have to deal with waiting and talking to people and stuff like that. Like that would have been the fastest thing for me to get rid of Lily, but the Poppy stuff fell apart, obviously. So
Yeah, and I'm gonna be like kind of an asshole for a moment, but they don't seem to really understand like urgency or algorithmic engagement at all. Like if there was a wave to ride as far as like capitalizing on this, they're not very good at doing that. So I really wouldn't trust their judgment when it comes to like we need to take our time with this. It's like no, this is kind of like a now thing if you want to jump on this bandwagon, just from my personal perspective. But I had a couple of questions related to, because it seems like there's quite a lot of in-universe crossover here. You had mentioned Leo Convoy. You had mentioned Poppy and Xena, Lily Orchard. Obviously, all of these people are kind of intertwined in the worst ways that you could conceive of. When you're thinking about the crossover between all of these people that you have had the displeasure of engaging with, do you see like kind of a pattern of behavior that you are now able to identify as kind of like a red flag? Because you said that you kind of got bad vibes from Poppy right from the jump. Do you think that being in those communities and being around those kinds of people kind of gives you like I guess like a sense for those kinds of things? Or is that something that you've always been in tune with and you just happen to miss it with Lily?
I kind of had it with Lily, to be honest. It just wasn't like, because Lily had like used a lot of corrective language. Like for example, I remember calling Sketchy, our mutual friend at the time, a cute bean, and she's just like, "You can't call a black person a bean," and I'm just like what? Like, and I think she was referring to like Mexicans or like Hispanic people in beans. But she got that wrong. But she like, and then I remember another time when I used queer in the title of a video when it was like queer history or queer analysis of Velma of all things. She was like, "You can't use queer," and I'm just like, but it's in the LGBT, like I'm not using it as a slur. I'm using it as like an educational, like academic, like context. So she was very gatekeepery as far as like I'm, like I'm the holder of the knowledge, and I need to correct and stuff like that. And I can
Almost
see
like
if
condescending and controlling. Yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
and I can see if people developed more rapport with her, then she would be like, "Oh, I remember that one time when you said this thing out of context, and that's racist or that's dismissive." So I can see how she has that pull on people. But that's why I was like close, but not too close. Like the most I did was post stuff about my server and her server for the most part. Um, and it was like events too. Like it wasn't about like come to my server, but it was just like, "Hey, we're doing a game night tonight, guys. Hey, we're doing this," that kind of thing. From what I remember. So yeah, but I've dealt with a lot of mental illness in my own life with my own family as well. So Poppy was pretty easy to spot, and I had bad vibes about Lily, but I just didn't think anything of it because Michaela was vouching for her left and right. So
And then with Leo Convoy, obviously Leo Convoy has not been accused of quite the severity of things that we would think of when we think of all of these people. Do you see that similar kind of crossover with him as well, where it was just kind of like, this is just kind of giving me weird vibes, or what was the falling out with that like?
I actually like have a decent relationship with Lio. Like, I mean, for one, he like owned up to all of the things he did and made a huge ass video about it, which is more than like, I can't imagine Poppy doing something like that, frankly. But my MO is also like, let them explain before, you jump to conclusions before because like someone could see something on Twitter, it could be a lie. And that's a lot of stuff that I was dealing with my stuff. And I was frustrated that people weren't even asking me. They just saw something, they ran with it, you know. So I don't know, like I have, I get that he fucked up. I get it, like, but we're not super close, but I give him a lot of credit for owning up to it versus some of these other people. But, he seems fine to me. He seems genuine. But
Yeah, we'll have to agree to disagree on the Leo convoy stuff. I don't want to get I don't want to get dragged down that rabbit hole.
Yeah, that's fair.
Quite at this juncture, but we can disagree on that because that's not even really the focus of our chat. So okay, so in regards to, because like I said, you've kind of floated around in a lot of these spaces where people are questionable in some sense, or maybe, in more extreme cases like abusive or dangerous and what have you. Do you notice the trend, and this is something that I noticed, so I'm curious if you notice this as well, is where it's kind of like the appropriation is not the correct word, but where they will kind of prey on like the uwu, soft bean, like harm reduction, I don't want to be like racist, transphobic, bigoted kind of shit in order to like come off as more genuine than they actually are? Would you say that that's kind of like a common trend?
Yeah, definitely, because I mean that's how Lily got to me. Is she was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry for your trauma. Like, I'm so sorry," and no one was really saying that. So she used like a lot of therapy speak to be like, "Oh, well, someone understands me." And then Poppy, I knew was playing that game too, and that's why I used therapy speak against her, because I knew like she couldn't like fight back against that. And like even in the document too, you can relook again, but there's also DMs where she was begging Riddle to get in contact with me because I cut her off at that point, and Riddle's like, no. So is the short version of it. But she was using like, oh, I'm, this is a trans issue and this is very important, and KP can never understand that because she's not a trans person. I'm just like, I put up a boundary, Poppy. I told you I felt unsafe. Like, what, what is the problem? So I don't know where I was going with this, but yeah, I did notice similarities as far as how they talked, how they conducted themselves, what kind of language they used, that kind of thing.
Okay. And then how long were you in with Poppy and Xena before this like kind of just fizzled out?
Say like weeks.
Weeks.
Like I could tell that there was something in the mist because Courtney was alluding to them having arguments about stuff, and I'm like, oh, okay. And then Courtney's like, yeah, it's kind of about you, and I'm like, I had a feeling. So, and then the situation with Courtney and her stuff got leaked, and that was pretty much it for me too. When I saw the timeline of all the documentation about me, and all my moves and stuff like that, I was just like, this is creepy as fuck. Like, I'm getting out of here.
Okay.
So,
and then with Poppy and Xena, were you in contact with Xena first or with Poppy?
with Poppy, like Poppy was my main point of contact.
Okay. And you had mentioned as well with Lily that something that was kind of, I guess manipulative is actually the right word, where it was like using her partner as kind of like a safe point of contact or like a safe reference where it's like, oh, well, you can ask her and she'll vouch for me, like you said earlier. I noticed that with a lot of people that like have splintered off of Poppy and Xena's community, they have kind of like a similar recounting of how they would get in with one of them and then be forced to be dragged into like, the community of like, oh, you're talking to me, you also must talk with Xena. Was that pretty immediate, or was that something that was only pulled into the play like towards the end when you were getting ready to bounce, basically?
It was towards the end. That was just that one group conversation because I didn't really know anything about Xena. Like I just heard of the Xena eraser memes and kind of like everyone's understanding of that. So I wasn't really expecting Poppy to bring in Xena, but like on hindsight, I can see why. Like, and it wasn't like a hey, like as you said in the last stream, it wasn't like a hey, like fuck Xena. It was more of like, hey, I don't know this person. Can we just talk via DMs? Like, no offense, but like you can't just make a group chat without asking me and just assume that it's gonna be Hakuna. And then Poppy playing dumb as far as like like I think she told Riddle, it's like, I think my timeline leaked, and Riddle and I were like, yeah, no shit.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And because I've heard many times that is kind of like a reoccurring theme where it is for most colloquial understanders that is actually triangulation, where you're trying to like pin somebody in between the two others, so they have to fall in line in one way or another. For clarity's sake, was there any kind of like sexual interactions between you and Poppy, or was it just strictly like professional?
Well, I wouldn't call it professional, but no, she didn't hit on me.
Okay.
I mean, I'm sure she would have if I was like friends with them, but that didn't happen.
Okay. And then, so I liked your document. I liked the screenshots and all that fun stuff because I'm drama whore. But something that I really greatly enjoyed, and you alluded to it a little bit earlier, is like the weaponization of therapy speak against somebody who weaponizes therapy speak. Was that something that you did like intentionally, or were you just kind of like mirroring her language?
That's how I talk. So my mom's a
Okay.
therapist. So, I've learned a lot, and I've been through a lot of therapy because I got PTSD from the canceled campaign. So I've been in and out of therapy throughout like this whole time. Um, so it's just information. Like it's a way to interact with people without like using your I feels or this is a boundary. It's a way to interact with people without hurting their feelings. And I know
Mhm.
Poppy would it was the only way that I was going to be able to talk to her because if not, she would twist things and she would say like she even twisted like the I want to control the narrative, and then I think in the DMs it says I want to control my narrative,
Mhm.
and she was just like she wants to control everything, and I'm like I gotta just not say as little as possible to this person because they're gonna run with everything and they're gonna make a video about like KP came to me and she's a bitch and she wouldn't do what I wanted. So.
And was there, like, you said that obviously this was just a few weeks at most. Was there any kind of like organized plan about doing this kind of content drop, or was it just kind of like, hey, this is what we're planning to do? Like, we'll just wait and see.
They wanted to try to get me into a call with Courtney, and Xena and Poppy to talk out a plan, I think, quote unquote. But that was when I was like, I think that was the first thing in the doc that's like, hey, like I'm not ready to just jump on and go public. Like I have to protect my community. I have to just like the idea was before they outed me was to talk to Michaela because I felt like Michaela might listen to me as not a rando, just as a concerned party.
Hmm.
And once they were like they tweeted about it, and I'm like, shit, I gotta get to Lily before Lily sees this. So I didn't have time to talk to Michaela. I don't know if I could have gotten her out, but I wanted to try at least.
Okay.
Um, so
All right. Fair enough. So, in general, do you think that, um, and this is obviously pure speculation, do you think that Xena and Poppy had like good intentions with trying to quote unquote recruit you, or do you think it was just because they wanted to ride the clout train with you?
I definitely got it was the lather. Like I think like with the guys that it was helping. Like when I said I wanted to do my own video and I wanted to handle it my way, like Poppy's response should have been like, "Oh, okay, we're glad we got the information to you. Like, good luck with your video. Let us know if you need any help." That would have been the correct response because if it was just about the information about me, then it would have mattered how it came out. But she was like, no, we got to do it. Like, we got to do it this. So, I think what she thought is like the Courtney video interview did really well. And she thought she'd trickle in something else from that. And I guess I was the trickle that came in. So, um, yeah.
Yeah, that would be my read on the situation as well, is that it
Mhm.
was more of a you have a higher sub count and therefore there's something to
Yeah. And
be
that's how
gained.
Poppy would talk about me is like, oh, she has all these subscribers. And I'm just like, what does that have to do with anything?
Yeah, well, I mean, cloud is cloud, I suppose. Uh, was there anything that you wish that you would have included or discluded in any of like the public kind of fallout from any of this? Like in retrospect, is there anything that you that you wish that you would have made more clear or included or discluded, anything like that?
I think from the get-go, like once we realized like Poppy and Xena were bad news, we made we had meetings with all the safety mods in my server, and Courtney was in a couple of them just to kind of discuss plans and like because we had like queer therapy, we don't have it anymore because we just switched to a generalized kind of when I say therapy, it's like group support kind of thing, like a VC thing. So like I informed all the mods. I had to make sure that they weren't loyal to Lily, like one at a time. And then I made sure mods were at all of the sensitive people talk to make sure if someone mentioned Lily, then they politely directed them back from that conversation. So I was doing shit like that. I kind of forgot your question, but
That's okay. Just if there was like anything that you like wish that you would have done differently, like included, excluded, just in hindsight, now that it's settled a bit, if there was
um
anything like that that you could think of.
I think the only thing is I wish I like this was done sooner. Like Lio was originally going to make this video about it, and then Lio got busy with not busy, but like he got his canceled campaign. And I'm just like, fuck it, I guess I got to do it. So which is fine. But the reason the video wasn't out earlier is we were waiting for Lio to get to it because my channel is not really a drama channel. But once we realized that was the case, I'm just like, well, I'm going to do this anyway. I might as well just do it. So, you know, it wasn't like a hard video to edit or anything like that.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Okay. Well, is there anything else you wanted to clarify? If anybody has questions in chat as well, you can go ahead and drop them. I have my chat open. And then Courtney expressed FOMO. And so I gave her perms if you don't mind her jumping on. But if you are like, I hate that bitch, I will kick her for you.
Yeah, Courtney can jump on if she wants to.
Okay.
She was there. So she defended me a lot too from Poppy's wrath, essentially. And I think, I mean, I'm not sure, but I'm sure like her reaction to the nudes was also like part of it was to protect me from just like, you know, making sure Poppy wasn't going to try to exploit me. Like she still tried to, and Riddle actually went to one of her live streams to make sure she wasn't talking smack about me because they were on good terms, but Riddle was manipulating her the whole time. It's hilarious. By doing drawings to her to get her on her good side. But yeah, so yeah, it's been cray for sure, but I don't think I have anything. I just wish it all came out earlier and, you know, we got the video out earlier and I could like move on with my life. Like,
yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
it seems like it's always me that's getting into like some sort of drama, but I think part of it is I'm willing to call it out at this point. You know, we had a situation yesterday in the server where we had a no fun gross person that we have to deal with now, so I'm just like, when does the ride ever end?
Never. It's
Never.
the drama. It never ends. And then I will clarify for my point as well. It was brought to my attention that when I was going over your document, the messages that Poppy had censored or whatever to share to basically show that, you know, Courtney is like unhinged and crazy and a lunatic and a domestic terrorist and all this other shit. It wasn't that Poppy shared her nudes. It was that Poppy claimed to have them. And I fucked that up because I misremembered. But that Poppy did not, quote unquote, actually share these images, but she claimed to have had them, and that was the issue. So I will clarify that now. And now Courtney's here. We have to stop talking shit. Haha. Hey, Queen. We definitely weren't talking about you. What's up? Can't hear you, bud. You might be muted. Wow, that was so insightful, Courtney. Please tell me more.
10 out of 10. I see her little thing lighting up.
Oh, there you go. There you go.
Oh, is it not working?
No, you're good now.
I always struggle with my audio. I'm sorry.
No, you're good. I just gotta turn you up a little bit. Hang on. Talk again.
Okay, I'm talking. I can talk louder. I mean, I can yell. You can ask KP. I was yelling last night.
That's okay. For my eardrums, please. I'm just gonna turn you up a little bit. Okay. All right. What is good, Queen? What's up? What's new? What's fresh?
Not much. Not much. I always love laughing about this KP and Poppy thing because Poppy tried to make it seem like, oh, KP caused this big falling out with me and Courtney. No, honey. You came crying to me going, why was everyone in your server? Why is nobody in my server?
Well, I had the exact same fucking criticism for Essence of Thought, where it's like, if you actually genuinely care about like the dissemination of information and like getting the word out and kind of blowing everything out of a whisper network, like you really shouldn't give a fuck who's talking about it or their sub count or whatever. It's just the fact that that's being spread is what should be the important part of that.
Yeah,
I
Poppy
agree.
wasn't even happy that I had a Discord server.
Well, because the hoes weren't going to her. She's worried about the hoes.
She wanted to keep me like sequestered in hers.
For the views, Courtney, for the views.
I know. My videos are the only ones on her channel that get views. And she's recently reposted the second stream where she's like, oh, sadly, Courtney and I are still not on good terms. Honey, sadly? You keep trying to tell people I'm an abuser. Why are you sad about that?
Yeah, I had said earlier too, I feel like she's attributing a lot of her viewership going down because of like the drama, but have you also considered that you never stream and then you upload like old segments all the time and people are like fucking over it? That could also be part of it, but
Yeah, and you post your life like 24 hours a day on Twitter. Why is somebody gonna watch your stream when they live tweet what's going on Twitter?
that is also true. Is there anything that you wanted to add as far as all this stuff goes, Courtney? Or are we transitioning to Mean Girl hours? I'm fine with either. I don't care. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to either, jump in with any clarification or anything that you wanted to add of substance before we just go bitch mode.
Well, just that like Poppy told me a number of different times while we were still talking that her whole problem with KP was because she was jealous, because she wanted to use KP for views. Every time she would complain to me about KP, it was but her sub count. She's such a big channel. And then would turn around to KP and be like, no, it's a safety issue.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you got a clout shark, man. You gotta you gotta climb the ladder somehow, I guess. But like, fuck, yeah.
I mean, yeah, but at least admit it. There's nothing wrong with being a hoe. There's everything wrong with being a hoe and denying it.
That wisdom, true, pure wisdom. Very true. Because I think the reality is that a lot of people are uncomfortable with the speaking out of both sides of your mouth, and I think that's just like a normal reaction for most everybody. Is where if I feel like you're being snaky or disingenuous, or you're lying, or you're doing things self-advantageously, if you just own that, I don't think that like most people would care. Like if you straight up were just like, no, dude, like you just have a higher sub for me, so I'm trying to clout off of you. Obviously, like I care about the situation, but also like my shit's been doing numbers, and I want to get in on the game. I don't think that people would be as like pissed off. Like I'm sure there were people that would moral frog over it for sure, but like there's nothing inherently wrong with trying to clout shark. Like that's whatever. It's just more like being fake about it is what people don't like, and not being able to see that is like a huge handicap for her.
I mean, that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Be what you are. Just stop denying it.
Well, because you can correct me if I'm wrong, Kim Possible, but if she was like, no, dude, like my video is doing like fucking numbers, and I know that you have like, the inside scoop, so to speak, and I want to ride that. Like, can we work together? Like, you probably wouldn't be like, absolute, that's so cringe. Like, no, you'd be like, oh, well, at least you're being upfront with your intentions. Like, yeah, whatever, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that was the exact same way I approached Poppy about it. It was like, listen, you're talking about this, people pay attention, and I need people to listen. Can I use your channel?
And I don't think there's anything necessarily wrong with that. It's the double speak that people are uncomfortable with, where if you're going to claim virtue, like you have to be consistent in that. Otherwise, people are like, no, you're actually being like a slimy fuck. And that people don't like that. People just genuinely don't like that.
Oh, thank you, Toby. Toby growled.
He agrees. He agrees with the sentiment. Well, I know this topic has just been like beat into the fucking dirt. Is there anything else that you guys wanted to go over? I know that you were getting FOMO, Courtney.
No, I wasn't getting FOMO. I was talking about Poppy getting FOMO.
Oh fuck! I thought that you said you were getting FOMO. Well then, fuck. Okay, never mind. Shit. Okay, my bad. I'm actually illiterate.
No, Poppy was getting FOMO.
Okay.
I don't know, and then someone said hop in a Discord call, and I went, okay. Twist my rubber arm.
You're like, whatever, dude. Yeah, well, if anybody in chat has any clarifying questions or anything, or if any of you cowards want to get in VC and chastise KP for her allegiance to Leo Convoy, I would not be opposed. As long as everybody consents, of course. We consent to the drama frogging, but yeah, I'm interested a lot in the perspective of like the crossover in a lot of the universes, because I see a lot of the same behavioral patterns from Leo. Obviously, we don't have to talk about Leo, but like Leo Convoy, from fucking Lily, from Poppy. Like I see a lot of like predictable behaviors and like the way that they interact with people and stuff. And so I thought it would be interesting to just kind of get your perspective, having your toes dipped in multiple ponds at the same time, kind of reflectively looking back and saying like, damn, like that's interesting, or like, oh fuck, like I can see how I missed that, blah blah blah. That's kind of where I was at with it.
Well, since we're chilling, I'm gonna drop my server. if anyone wants to be adopted by me.
But not in a sexy way. It's not the incest way. Not incest adoption, you
They
guys.
play like board games. They
Have
play
Cards
Among
Against
Us.
Man- Yeah.
Yeah, you should be able to just drop that in the YouTube chat if you so desire. So, but this is a goon-free zone, you guys. No gooning in there. If you come for me and you goon, I'm gonna fucking ban you. None of that shit, okay?
Yeah, I'll just cry to Malcolm and be like, Malcolm, your idiots are doing something.
Yeah.
Oh, please, KP. You know we're gonna get them in a VC and yell at them first.
If you're coming for me, everybody behave.
We already
Everybody be,
established the Thunderdome last night.
everybody be on your best behavior, okay?
Well, we're waiting for questions. Courtney, you want to talk about the idiot that showed up to the thing last night?
Oh God, yeah. Had someone come into KP's server. She's got a little Q&A chat for my sister related stuff. This guy comes in and goes, "Oh, is Hank Doppler your guys' grandfather?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And before you go and slap that obituary down as fact, it's a false obituary. It's the result of lazy reporting and the white inclination to conflate all Native people as like just Cherokee. And I know this because, I've asked the man's eldest daughter, and so he responds with slapping down this obituary and goes, "You're lying, and I have proof." So we get him in a voice call, and he's talking in circles about how he thought the obituary had more weight than me, who is his grand. And then we come to find out that he's got a DeviantArt account full of Cutie Mark Crusader lewd art.
Do you guys know who the Cutie Mark Crusaders are? I can explain that one.
Fuck. Okay.
Oh, they're just underage characters in My Little Pony, 12 to 14-year-olds with no pants on and no tops on.
I have questions that I'm not
funny
gonna ask.
At the start of the call, this guy was vehemently defending Stockholm, going, "Oh, I'm not gonna pay attention to Stockholm because I don't think that matters." And I just flat out told him, I was like, "Dude, tell me you're a pedophile without telling me you're a pedophile." And then Britt comes in with the hammer of, "Hey, look at his DeviantArt."
Listen, you guys are chill,
Poor
okay?
Bob.
But the brownie shit, the furry shit, all that other stuff. It's not for me. It's not for me. Okay, you guys obviously get the pass. That is highly contingent on both of you behaving. Okay, but I will say, there are levels to degeneracy. Okay, I definitely think that that's way worse than just liking My Little Pony. But I will caveat that I in general am opposed.
Oh no, that's pretty much how everybody feels. Full con is not an okay thing.
I'm glad that there's at least some standard at least. God bless. I've been taking a lot of psychic damage.
When we found out about his DeviantArt, this dude was he pulled the Chris hand, everything that anybody's ever said on To Catch a Predator. He's like, "Oh, I don't think I liked any lewd art of children. I don't know how that got there. I don't understand how that's suggestive. I didn't know it was child porn."
Yay.
And it's like, dude, seriously, you're really saying this now in front of 6 people?
I think that there is quite a, I don't know, I just feel like there's just this reflexive, certain fandoms just draw out the worst fucking human beings possible. And I hate to generalize. I do. I truly do, you guys. I really do. But it's holy fuck. How is it that all of you guys like the same thing? It's very, fuck me.
Yeah, if you have any questions about brony shit, let me know.
I promise I probably won't.
The problematic brony shit just boils down to pedophiles.
Yeah.
Pretty universally problematic, I would say. I think that's kind of a universal. That is problematic, yes.
Pretty much.
Yes.
Just
Which I don't love it. I don't love it. Was there any more shit that you guys wanted to talk? I think that everybody is chickening out. They know that Courtney's here, and they're like, "Fuck, I can't talk shit to Courtney." So I think I'm gonna reserve my criticisms.
Yeah, that's usually what happens. I was kind of surprised that one even got in a voice call with me the other day.
That's just, I don't know. I see I like to sit on the wall and observe. I very rarely like to participate. I just like to watch. I'm a content cuck, if you will. But I really, I am just so stunned every time somebody's like, I'm going to go after Courtney Orchard. And I'm like, that tactically a mistake. Tactically a mistake. I'm like, even if you think she's wrong, like, just let her be. Like, holy fuck. Like, just, it's not worth it, bro. Like, just let it go. Let it go.
Pretty much.
Oh, Barbie's here. Barbie, if you have questions, you can get in VC. You have the girl time pass. If you have questions about like Leo Convoy, well, we said not Leo Convoy, but if KP consents to her allegiance being questioned, I would tolerate that if she will.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm okay for constructive criticism.
Yeah, Barbie, come in and scream. Come and call her slurs. Let's go. Come on, Barbie. I'm just kidding. I'm just fucking with you.
Don't make me hide. Malcolm's triggering me, guys.
That's literally my job.
Oh, now I have to beat him up. God damn it, Malcolm.
How much would you guys pay for me and Courtney to fist fight? I'd probably get my ass beat. But how much would you guys pay? I'm talking...
Okay, I'll tie one hand behind my back.
No, it should be like a full ass beat. If it's going to be an ass beat, it's going to be an ass beat. Like, we're not going to cheapen the experience. How much would you guys pay? I'm just waiting to see. Because depending on the price, I would totally do it. If we crowdfund for it, I'd totally do it.
Fly to Canada.
I'd fight you with gloves on so that I don't break your face.
You know, worse things have happened to me. 5 YouTube memberships? You guys are fucking cheap. You guys want me to get my ass beat for that much money?
$10.
You guys are assholes. I made a mistake. I shouldn't have asked that question. I knew the answer. You guys were going to cheat me out. I knew it.
Why are we paying for something that we could already do?
Is that so, Barbie? Is that so? That's what we're saying here. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
How about if you guys take bets?
Okay, yeah, we could do bets. We could do bets.
Okay, are we gonna bet on who would win or how?
How many teeth does Malcolm have to get
Courtney's
replaced?
Literally a bum fighting champion. I'm pretty sure that I've seen you on World Star Hip Hop before. I'm not taking any bets against her. Absolutely not.
Fuck, dude. Young black economist would put in like $500.
I mean,
Okay.
I used to live on the street. I fought grown men. I've swung at cops. Like I
World Star Hip Hop Courtney over here.
Okay, we'll crowdfund and we'll take bets. We'll add that to the itinerary. Welcome, Barbie, to the shit show. We're having hate time. We were just chatting with Kim Possible about her experiences kind of bouncing out of Poppy and Xena's community and Lily Orchard's community. It was revealed to me against my will that KP is a Leo Convoy lover, if you will, and she consents to...
I wouldn't say lover, like... I don't know. He's
Bud.
Nice to me.
I guess Bud.
Yeah,
so
I mean, I'm certain that he is nice. Again, he doesn't ever talk to people like men the way in which he does with women. So I'm not really surprised that he does speak to you somewhat respectfully. He usually does that with people that he fears. What is it that you like about him? Do you like him for his comic content?
I like that he defended or he was the only one that kind of like questioned and would go after the brony pedophiles back in the day. So that kind of has my respect because the bronies don't like confrontation, so they didn't want to do that. So
yeah, so there's a lot of things going wrong in those communities in which they're centered around kids, but adults invade and infect it. And one of those adults invading and infecting it is Lyle Convoy in particular, because while he does call them out, what we've seen is he doesn't know. Respectfully, I need to find a way to say this. I'm pulling out of work mode and going into girl time mode, so give me a second.
He's dumb and he don't know what the fuck he's doing.
Yeah, he's not a professional.
He knows asshole from his elbows, TBH. Not only that, but it's just like it's so bad. Like he can't do anything. So he doesn't report them correctly, and then what he does do is monetize it. So it's the direct interference and then telling the specific predators or predator adjacent people to delete all their profiles, delete their whole presence of the internet, because he thinks that once he's filed all that information that that's all that they need. And to me, I was trying to explain it, and I said, if you knew a murder was committed in a house and all the evidence is there, and let's say that you collected a lot of evidence or anything else, would you burn that house down?
Mm-hmm.
No, the answer to that question is no. You would never want to burn that house down because there's just a chance that you may have missed something. The police should always have direct access to the primary resources or to like the trail of evidence being left behind. But Lyle was like too concerned about trying to there's a whole problem with that. I don't know if I would ever do a video, but the whole monetization of the predator chasing industry complex is, I think, worse than the military industrial complex. Like that needs to be brought down faster than anything else. And is in particular because they're not doing anything.
Barbie is still in lawyer mode, so allow me to synopsize Barbie. Barbie is basically saying that part of the issue is that Leo Convoy is doing it's not just that he's calling people out, it's that he's doing it in a monetized way for content in the frame reference of predator hunting, and that predator hunting itself, and especially the way that he engages in it, actually does like a big disservice because a lot of the evidence is lost or done or handled poorly, like in the same way that you saw with Chris Hansen and like Onision and shit. That's like the general criticism, is that like, yes, he is calling people out, but one, he's doing it for like a faux virtue, and then two, he's doing it in a way that like causes like no real repercussions to be faced from the people that are actually being victimized.
Yeah, whenever we started doing that whole talk with myself and Stardust in particular, when I spoke to Stardust and we were preparing, I had to tell you, so I said, I've had sexual assault survivor classes, which also, again, because people will call our line and have been a like an online thing, right? Where they're talking to somebody online, a kid has sent their nudes to them. My kid, I'm so sorry. A 16-year-old has sent their nudes to them. And then we have to talk to them about like, all right, so what's been released is revenge porn. How do you get that off? So on and so forth. Why I came into that talk really expecting that Lyle had at least or educated himself, because I knew that he wasn't like associated with police or anything else, which is fine. But I thought that he must have at least done some foundational educational work. That is not the case. So in the beginning of that video, I sound so stunlocked. It's kind of like Malcolm with the Tom tent, where Tom just goes, well, I just don't believe that. I think non-binary is androgynous. And you see Malcolm's head glitch almost like in the Matrix, because I thought, wait, I have to explain state versus federal systems. I can't. What are we doing here? What's going on? I hate all this so much.
About going after predators. He would like just go join a government organization that actually goes after predators. Like, it's a job, dude. Go get it.
Yeah.
Also, he would not like, so the way in which he also treats anybody who is a victim of a predating situation is a trope. I mean, that makes me want to spit in his face because it's the most disrespectful thing I can think to do. He can go fuck himself. But he is far less worse than Poppy and Xena. Again, Poppy and Xena, if you try and legally pursue your child, I will personally fund the best attorneys in those areas to trounce you and laugh at you joyfully. Joyfully. Stop fucking threatening to sue your kid, dumb cunts.
Barbie is officially out of work mode.
No, now I'm getting myself worked up. Now I've had enough of my water out of my big dumb Stanley cup. Oh yeah, now I'm worked up. Now I'm caffeinated.
The Stanley cup is empty. It's fucking game on for Barbie.
Listen to this. Listen. There's nothing in there anymore.
Not the Stanley cup, bro. Not the Stanley cup, bro.
Stanley cup for sure. So okay, so when Lyle talks to people,
well, let Kim Possible say something. You said like 20 fucking things. Let Kim Possible say something.
Yes, of course.
Oh, I was just saying that's fair. You know, like I don't really keep up with the drama spheres anyway because of my own triggers. Hence why I found out about Lily late. So like that's fair. You obviously know your shit.
Oh no, I don't. I want to be very clear. Like, I don't think any subject matter expert is probably on YouTube talking about these things, which is kind of surprising. Because I would think any of that content just going over what are typical signs that somebody's trying to groom you or anything else would be really great. Because the biggest thing that seems to happen, you can't stop your kids from being on the internet, right? And it's such a mixed age space that telling your kids, yeah, you don't want to reveal that you want to be a writer or an artist in any of these forums, because that's an easy way for an adult to try and slide in and say, let me tell you what it was like to going to some art school or blah, blah, blah. But Lyle instead is like, okay, so you're a victim, so you now must be the cleanest hands victim in the world. And anybody who's worked with any survivor of any crime knows they're messy, that it's never like that. It does not operate like that ever. It doesn't work like that at all. But still, she like the way in which she spoke to Jibs tells me like you have no idea how to work with victims or people. But again, I understand that because he's actually willing to take a stand and be confrontational with a bunch of like beta people is great. But there are other people who can do that who are also somewhat qualified to do that.
Yeah, I agree, but like I think those people aren't making YouTube videos.
This is true. Barbie, do you know if CSIS or whatever Canadian government branch is close to FBI has similar trainings to what FBI offers for predation victim management? Maximus, yes, I do. So the FBI and CIS, and I believe most governmental agencies must have received, I cannot verify this, same or similar training whenever it comes to those things. Do you think a YouTube creator or SAS could really be able to break down the whole Lily story to normies the best?
That's a good question for Courtney and both KP. If there was like a content creator that you think would do good coverage or that has done good coverage for the Lily Orchard shit.
Don't know enough other YouTubers to answer that, so pass for me.
Oh, that's
Nobody's
interesting.
done good coverage so far.
Who is doing good coverage? Sorry.
Honestly, nobody has.
Nobody
so far.
has. Would you have like a preferred creator if you had to pick one?
Well, no, because honestly, the only choice is between Poppy and Ethel.
Well, I mean, like if you could
'Cause I'm
like
still
contact
working on it,
anybody, like if you could contact like the right opinion or somebody, like who would you want to do it?
Me,
Oh,
a channel
God,
with no watchers.
God, the right opinion would be amazing.
Yes.
Cruel World Happy Mind would probably be a good one who would probably do it well. Live Abuse Free is a relatively unknown channel, but she's really
I love her
professional, and
actually.
I think
She
would
did
have
great work on James
insight into
Soroka
that.
too.
There's a few, but the problem is actually like getting in contact with them.
Because is the problem with the Lily stuff that and I'm so sorry that happened to you, sincerely. That sucks, and I appreciate you talking about it, and I know every time talking about it probably feels like stretching an underused muscle, like it just hurts, and I'm sorry about that. So if you're like, you know what, fuck off with this, I do not want to engage in a bum fight with Courtney, not ever, so, you know.
Barbie, how much would it cost for you to fight
I've been
Courtney?
telling this story.
To fight Courtney, you have to tell me what kind of rules we have, because...
No holds barred street fight. How much money? Street fight.
A street fight?
No
How much
hair
money?
pulling.
How much
No hair
money?
pulling.
Fuck. I'm strong mediocre at Muay Thai and even more mediocre at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. God, maybe like 2,000, 3, 4.
Oh my fucking God. You're such a bitch, Barbie.
I am. She terrifies me. She's from the streets. What do you mean? Listen, I've defended people like that. I have to tell you, whenever I came in and I go, hi, I'm your friendly neighborhood public defender. I would love to work with you. And the people that I worked with are, I have to be clear, of course, a lot of criminals, but are in general very humane and very sweet. I will never forget one of them saying, don't ever go out looking for clients. Just let them come to you, because the places where your clients lurk are not places for you to be. And I said, what do you mean? He's like, just don't go there. Just don't go there. Like, you've got no business over there. I know I have no business trying to pretend to be that tough.
Noval is offering $15. Do you accept?
Yes, perfect.
Okay, sick.
That's exactly it.
Well, me and Courtney will fight, and then when she inevitably wins, you'll be next. You'll get like the handicap. You'll get the handicap.
Will just in the corner.
You'll get the She's gonna use my dead body. She's gonna use my dead body to beat the shit out of you.
She will. She uses like a puppet. So, Courtney, do you think
it'd be like in Kong? Sorry.
Oh no. So the problem with the Lily thing is, so she was abusive to you all through growing up. And then despite having that background, still became a moderately successful YouTube creator. And did she have any other controversies or something other than that in her community or in the groups that she lurks in that would make her something of a controversial creator, or is she pretty safely ensconced in those groups?
How much time you got? See, there's different eras. There's different eras of Lily's bullshit because
Okay.
when she first started her career online, she identified as a cis male. So that was her ball spawn days. That's when she started like ripping off zero punctuation style, and she didn't really do anything children's media wise until a little while after I moved out of the house, and then she started on the brony content. And she started on the brony content because somehow along the way, she got a bunch of kids in her audience that kept asking her to cover My Little Pony stuff. And she got super into the brony stuff, which led to her trying to call out to Toon Critic to cover her own ass for a bunch of like pedophilic brony shit. And then she got into it with her buddy Josh Scorcher, who she tried to gaslight and manipulate into dating a minor, saying that like it's completely okay because she won't be 17 forever. And then and also in and amongst then is when she was writing a whole bunch of different fanfics under like 3 different pen names, all of which had really heavy pedophilic undertones.
Yes.
I'm gonna go to the bathroom really quick. I'll be right back. You guys behave, okay?
Got it.
Okay. So there was a lot in terms of like stuff that she was doing, but she was triangulating so many people in her audience that she was gaslighting them into going, no, that's not me. This is Tara. This is someone else. This is just somebody doesn't like me.
So they were all lesser or creators with smaller numbers. So it was never going to be like an even or a fair fight.
Yeah, that or they just weren't creators at all. Like Josh was a creator, but Britt was never a content creator. Super Nintendo gal, I'm pretty sure she stopped creating content because of what Lily made her do. That's the one that Lily had write Stockholm with her. And like, and then that's also the era where she was like trying to solidify her lolcow status. She was acting very much like fucking Creepshow Art did, where she was like all over these different forums, both trashing and supporting herself under so many different pen names that the Derpy Borough forums went, hey, these bunch of accounts are all from the same IP address, by the way.
So that's interesting. So it's not, when I say interesting, I'm trying to approach it in a somewhat detached manner. And I'm writing this down to try and see, because it sounds like what needs to happen is, so from a legal perspective, facts and evidence help, but what truly sells to a jury is who has the most cogent or coherent story going forward. Even if it happens to be an incredibly complex case. There's one right now, for example, in which they're trying to prove that the Boston PD covered up a death by just trying to blame it on his long-term girlfriend. And it's a very compelling story, but the first thing off the bat is that they make it very simple and handhold the jury and everyone else through it, so everyone knows exactly what beats are supposed to happen as they happen. So, but they do that by making sure that it's linear, that it's cogent, and that it doesn't have some overarching details where it's like, this is also a problem, but we'll get into that at a later time. And it sounds, I mean, I don't think Poppy couldn't find her way out of a paper bag, so I don't trust either her or the other chucklefuck to tell a cogent story. So it sounds like what needs to happen is somebody who can look at all of this, make a concise outline of it, and start discussing it. Or a series of videos, because it's more than just, because it's the abuse being done to you, then the abuse being done online, then the abuse being done to other people, or, you know, the coercion to force them to participate in what they're trying to do. Those are all really shitty negative things as well.
And she's got like a long-standing track record of surrounding herself with minors. Like it started when she was about 12 years old. She would do nothing but hang out with 6-year-olds all day. And she did that well up into her late teens, to the point I would even tell my parents, yo, it's kind of weird that she's like 17 and hanging out with a bunch of like 6-year-olds all day.
Yeah, if she's not nannying or babysitting, that's really bizarre.
No, she would just go around the trailer park and find kids in their yards and basically coax them out of the yards, go playing with her.
That's fucking weird. Okay. So she's like a Colin Ballinger almost. I think that would be like
Yeah.
the best way with which to make her kin, right? Because she sounds like the Pied Piper of really innocent kids, especially vulnerable kids in like a brony
Yeah, she's
community,
like
right?
Colleen Ballinger meets Creepshow art.
I mean, that sounds like a video title in and of itself.
It actually does. See, I've been trying to
Because
work
it's the
on a
worst of both
timeline.
worlds.
Yeah. Like, I've been trying to work on a timeline because, like, basically I'm the one who knows the most, other than Brit. Like, Brit's the lore keeper of the online shit, but I know where all of it started because I was there when she, like, growing up with her. But the problem is just there's so much that overlaps. It's trying to find the spots to put them in that is fucking difficult. And then my mother-in-law up and died, so, like, I haven't had time to get to it.
Yeah, that's incredibly, like, that's a really big deal usually. So obviously that's understandable. Okay. So if I was going to do this, the first thing would be, because it's not rare, but the fact that it transcends online to, usually what you would see is it going from offline to an online forum. The fact that she did offline things and then went online is what is different, but also those things both make her inherently much more dangerous because it proves it was never a fantasy. She always knew that she could do these things. And then she just found a much wider and larger audience and ways with which to flit in and out of these groups.
Yep.
I have returned.
And I don't think that it's a coincidence that she largely targets like LGBTQIA kids, because those are statistically the most abused, neglected, and fucking forgotten kids like ever.
Well, where are those kids
Notice.
collating to be predated up? Like, are there forums beyond these Discord groups or these, I guess, fandoms in which these kids are getting
A lot
together?
of it was on Tumblr in terms of Lily. Like, Lily had a 14-year long Tumblr page, Tumblr blog. It's only just recently gotten like nuked, and there's speculation that Lily did that herself because our brother is now paying attention to this shit and like going to bat for her, and he lets Lily around his kids. So Lily, the speculation is that Lily went and had her Tumblr nuked so that he can't see her like rampant obsession with incest. But that's where she mostly did things with her audience. That's where she mostly like convened everything, was onto Tumblr and then into her like Discord and Patreon. But the thing is, she just hops from like popular children's fandom to popular children's fandom. Like, she did the Brony thing, and then she did Steven Universe because Steven Universe was popular, and then she did Owl House because Owl House was popular. Like, she doesn't like, it's not a coincidence that she's always going for the most popular children's media. I will not be surprised if she starts going off on Bluey next, because that gets kids into her sphere.
So this is what you want. You want it so that way when her name comes up during a YouTube search, the first thing that comes up is Lily Orchard will do this again. Or Lily Orchard, an even worse version of Colleen Ballinger and Creepshow art. Or because, well, Colleen Ballinger groomed Adam McIntyre and the other victims or survivors. It wasn't yes, the weenies, yeah. A lot of people were like, well, it wasn't really sexual, and she just seemed to like, well, grooming is still grooming is still grooming, right? You're still pushing
Grooming
them to
is
do
not
overtly
sexual.
sexual weird things. But
grooming is not inherently sexual either. Grooming is just normalizing an inappropriate act.
Exactly. And it's definitely not making it like, you know, trying to hide it underneath being like a weird aunt or something else bizarre. It is horrifying,
The
Snowflake.
weird aunt that probably molested people?
Oh yeah. Yeah. With that, so I wonder if you want me to, I think I would say I'm a pretty fair to middling writer, or if you want me to, I can try and like collate all these things and help put them together and say, here are creators that have come out and spoken out against her. Why is this not getting any more attention? But I like to call myself a proto Karen. Like, I'd like to use my Karen powers for good, so to speak. So I wonder if you just don't need someone who's loud and brash who's going to call a lot more attention to this.
Well, and then if there's something that's written up as well, it can be disseminated amongst people, and then it's not just monopolized by like, nobody's watching fucking Essence of Thought videos. I'm sorry, nobody's doing it. So I mean, it would be easier to disseminate that way as well if everything's already written down, and then you could just hand it off to whoever.
Yeah, the only Ethel I'll ever trust is my friend's dog. Other than that, fuck Ethel.
Savage.
Fucking agreed. Like I said, impossible to sit through without like a 5-hour energy and 3 lines of cocaine.
Yeah, and I mean,
But
even
I
Vangelina
like-
Skov's coverage of it wasn't
Yeah.
bad, but like so much of it is contingent on like outreach and stuff like that, and then like the screenshots and everything, and kind of the hyperlinks and all that other stuff. Because like something that is difficult, and KP alluded to this as well, is that like if you aren't presented with everything right in front of you, it's pretty difficult to like buy in wholesale. In part because it's so fantastical that you would never believe this if somebody was like, "Hey, just so you know, this person likes to fuck dogs." You'd be like, "You're fucking lying. Like, there's no shot, dude."
Yeah, I
Who
wonder
is
if
this
you boil it
Calvin
down,
Garrar?
I wonder what
Who
would
is
happen
he?
if. What would you do if I told you that one of the largest content creators in My Little Pony, in the large
Thank you for the
Steven universe, in
sub
the
or the
largest
membership.
fandoms,
Thank you for the membership.
started
And Black
out,
Economist. Mashallah, thank you.
and I'm sorry, Courtney, sexually abusing kids already. And now we've just allowed her to have access to hundreds and thousands of other little kids online doing God knows what. Like, what if I told you that this is not just a quote unquote online, this is an actual, factual, regular predator with potential like police charges being brought that absolutely needs to be discussed. But I bet I am firmly convinced that no matter how complex of a case, if you look around it enough and you find one through line, you can make it concise enough to grab attention, right? Because that's what any rabbit hole is. It needs to grab your attention before you enter into it. No one goes into a rabbit hole knowing it's a rabbit hole first. Like you have to, like, you want people to start digging or things like that. I bet that would help a bit. Unfortunately, it does go back so long when it comes to predator. Oh, it sure does. And the thing that I bet is because you can do it where it's focused, and I don't mean this isn't a bad thing. I think because you are one of our primary survivors, it's probably, how would I say this? So usually whenever we have somebody who says, you know what, I was predated on by somebody in my high school and I want to go out and warn people about it. The first thing I'd say to them is, this is not your job and not something that would ever be appropriate for you to do, because you are going to be so close to the forest for the trees as to, it's going to be triggering or frustrating or flooding for you, that those are things in which, as much as you can, correct people along the way so the information isn't incorrect.
I'm sorry, I just
but
blew your
let
guys'
someone
eardrums
else-
out.
No, you're fine. Let someone else be the mouthpiece, because that way it has a degree of removal and keeps it focused, and or at least seems dispassionate and unbiased in a big way. I think you speaking out against her is great. I think, unfortunately, it's very easy to deny or say, well, that's just my younger sister. She's just being a bitch. Like, we've always had problems. You can see she's unhinged. She's the story about like, well, she kicked a pregnant woman in the stomach or other things things are fucking being used to try and like detract from you. Which is, again, fine. Like, I'm not asking for anybody to be a perfect survivor or a witness, but I would never ask a survivor to prosecute their own case. What are your thoughts on that?
No, I mean that's completely fair. That's exactly why doctors don't work on their own family. That's why police don't prosecute or go after investigate their own.
Yeah, the
family.
lawyer who represents themselves represents a fool is one thing I will never forget. Like, please, that's exactly it.
Yeah, like, you know, people get blinded by their own, like, like you said, their own closeness to it. Like, it's better to have someone perspective, like the outside looking in perspective, to actually do most of the talking. The only problem is that the only people loud enough are the fucking idiots like fucking Poppy and Essence of Thought. And until someone else comes along, I have to stand here and be the mouthpiece that I'm good at being.
Well, that's why I think that, like, if there was, like, and please don't collectively boo me. That's why, like, it's frustrating, because a lot of the information that everybody can just, like, go and read at their leisure is going to be, like, on Kiwi Farms. But people are going to, like, shake their head and disavow or whatever anything that comes from there as, like, a secondhand source or, you know, bullshit or transphobic or whatever. They're going to attack the messenger, not necessarily the message. But if it was able to be, like, disseminated in a way where you could just kind of, like, refer to something, back to something, and be like, hey, like, this is everything that's written down. It's got all the hyperlinks, all the screenshots, all the logs, whatever, what have you. And then circulate that in a place where where people are like gonna like even if you just do it in like the drama spirit, if you like leak a document like that, everybody's gonna read it on stream, and then it'll eventually get picked
Nicholas
up by
Brewer is
something.
going to read it. Oh,
Uh-huh.
Tom Dark's going to read it. All of them.
And then we'll get tomfoolery's linguistic expertise on the document as well, which will be very
That
helpful.
linguini fucker better keep his tongue and his linguistic expertise away from me.
Linguini fucker.
Never.
Barbie, I love you.
Barbie's so funny, but I think that that would be something that would be useful. And like, I think the problem again is that like a lot of people, and you know, say what you will, a lot of people are upset a lot of the way in a lot of the ways that a lot of information is presented or disseminated, and who gets their hands on it, and who reacts to it, and who makes content about it, and what have you. But in the context of like the grander narrative of just making sure that it's no longer a whisper network and it's well known, that's kind of like the priority. Like, to be completely honest, like if Blair White did like a fucking video on Lily Orchard, I'd be like, wow, that's kind of shitty or whatever. But it's like, hey man, at least like people know, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
I think
that's why I'm almost like, I do think it needs to be like a,
Mhm.
not that it should be me. It really should be somebody with like a almost brand new pristine channel that is made purely for this purpose of this needs to be put out. I like, it can be obvious by, I have no other videos up. I don't really care to put any other videos up. Nobody else is trying to do this. This all needs to be put out in a collated, heavily thought out form. There's going to be different rabbit hole. One person who is incredibly good at writing these things, I would to give credit, would be Melina, in the way in which she like presented the information and documents about Poppy and Xena, at least to an outside perspective.
Melina didn't even write most of those. She had other people do it for her. Hella
Oh, okay. Well, those documents, whoever made them, were incredibly. They made walking through it very easy. That's the biggest thing, is that you want whatever audience goes through it to. You have to assume they're at a 3rd grade reading level, and they have the attention span of a mayfly, and go through it with them.
Yeah, and if something like
Yeah,
that was
that's
ever
like
produced,
my-
that would be ideally what would be disseminated. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off, Courtney. Go ahead.
No.
No, it's okay. That was exactly my critique of Ethel's videos, where everyone who came at me about Ethel's videos were like, well, at least she got the information out there. It's like, but did she though? If people are clicking off the video, if the information is not getting across, are you sharing the information?
Well, and it has to be like, this is so like fucking insensitive, but it also has to be entertaining. Like, people have to want to read it. And that's the thing that's shitty about it, because it's not like this is just like to an extent, like everything is like for us to laugh at on the internet for sure. But like, even with something as sensitive as this, like it does have to be engaging. And the thing that was hilarious about like the Poppy and Xena shit was just like how fantastically fucking obscene and absurd it was. And I think that you would get the same kind of reaction if it was presented to a broader audience with somebody like Lily, where it's like, this shit is so fucking unhinged and deranged. Like, no shot. Like, you're at the edge of your seat being like, did she actually fuck the dog? Like, you're just like really you're really in it.
I don't think she fucked the dog, to be honest.
Al,
Look, I
you
don't
know
care.
her. You know her better than I do, but I would bet money on the dog being fucked. I would bet money on the dog being fucked.
We only ever had 2 dogs, and neither of them act cagey around her, and she didn't have access to either of them alone. So I really don't think she fucked the dog.
It might be a later in life dog. It might not be the dog, but a dog. I am certain at some point a dog was fucked. But I'll eat. I told you I'll eat my underwear on stream if that's not the case. But if I was a betting man, I would bet on the dog fucking 100%.
I'm willing to bet she tried.
Okay, fair enough. I can meet you in the middle on that one. I'll take that.
Yeah, what you want. I mean, I will probably be basing it a lot on like KF or something else. I can go through and see if I can't put something together that's less than 3 pages and see if because there will be things that will be cut out. Now I can state, this is something that I'm cutting out right now. These are other things that we can focus on. And if you read that and you think that it's, so long as every bit of information is correct and it does not parse down too much, that may be a good step in the right direction.
Author Barbie, let's go.
No, I agree with
I'll
that.
keep my lawyer hat
It's
on and
just-
be as professional as possible.
Then there's just the problem of like, oh God, what's the more important parts?
Mhm.
I think that's the thing though, right? So there's different versions in which you can focus on it, but you could even do it in different chapters. There are long storied, complex, weird things on YouTube, and same with true crime. People love to eat that shit up, and everyone loves untangling a knot. There's nothing more satisfying than untangling a knot or hearing your own name. I promise you. So
Bro,
me
it's
keeping
been
my
how
mouth-
many fucking years, and I still watch the Christian updates. It's been how many fucking
Oh my
years, and I
God.
still watch those. Like
Yeah.
people will dive nuts deep into this kind of shit if it's interesting enough. And I think that this is one of those things that is spectacularly interesting to an outside observer. And obviously, again, I mean that with like the utmost like caveat that obviously I'm not like, oh my god, it's so funny, lol, that like all of you guys were abused. But like in the sense where like it is fascinating that people behave this way.
No, it's still a train wreck.
Yeah, and people love that kind of. They eat that shit up, and so I don't think that you would have
People
any.
love watching a train wreck.
You would have no problem, kind of not even necessarily editorializing it, but dictating it in a way where it's like, holy shit, like I can't wait till the next episode of like, what the fuck did Lily do this week to come out? Like,
Wait, me or Barbie?
oh, for either of you guys, I was gonna say like, I mean, obviously we're all here now having girl time, but I would be willing to commit to working on something like that with you, Barbie, and everybody else on the call as well, if you
Hell yes.
are interested.
I think
because I think it'd be
there's
fun.
also a lot of deep dives going back right now, like going back to DashCon or 2014 Tumblr or other things. So I think
It's a
in
renaissance
weird way-
period.
yes, I think that in that way it dovetails really nicely with, hey, Tumblr wasn't just utilized to do pro Anna eating disorders; it was also utilized to predate on kids. And one of those people still around right now. Don't let them fool you. Like a leopard doesn't change its spots, and throw everything out there.
I'd be willing to chip in some time on that if everybody
Yeah,
wanted
because
to
those
work on
platforms
that.
haven't changed at all, which is kind of shocking. You would think, what do you mean? My Little Pony was at the forefront of, oh shit, there are lots of weird adults interested in these things with weird kids around. And what do we do with all these things? And I don't know, maybe they have. I don't know if they have done anything to help take care of that. But since they have, or if they haven't, I think that that would provide a really, really good piece of evidentiary support to these are really common breeding grounds, but you didn't even need to be bred in here. She came in from the outside. She would have found any place to predate. It could have been the Star Trek community for all we know.
Not Star Trek, bro. Yeah, I'd be down to going
No, there's
on.
not enough food.
I'd be down to going on something like that. I wrote down.
And I promise to
Some
never
of-
send you any nudes or solicit anything like that. First off, I think
No
that is an
gooding.
incredibly disrespectful thing.
No getting
And
along.
I can't even, if you fucking, when I heard that, all I thought, like my brain shorted and I thought, she's never worked with anybody who's ever had a traumatic experience. What do you mean you did those things? Like, what do you mean? Like, if there was ever one of the people that I work with, like on a volunteer basis, who was like, I'd love to go out with drinks for you, I'd think, no, what? No, ew, no, why would you ever cross streams like that? Absolutely not.
Before we elaborate more on that, I have two statements to make. One, if anybody has any residual questions that I missed or did not answer or that you would like answered, please put them in the chat and I will read them for you. Additionally, I feel like we're coming to the near end of what I would segment when I'm going to segment this. So final thoughts on this. We can still stay and hang out, but just final thoughts on like the condense that I'm going to do for a segment. But we can still have girl time. That's fine with me. But closing thoughts on this. KP, I know I kind of like hijacked you into the Leo convoy corner and then all of this shit as well. But closing thoughts and then shout yourself out and all that other stuff. We don't have to end girl time, but just for the end of my segment.
Oh, don't everybody talk all at once.
Yeah, guys, calm down.
KP's the goat, Barbie's the goat, Malcolm, you're the shit, and Poppy's a fucking goof. That's what I'm gonna
He's the
say.
only one who would win in a bum fight. We've all just, I'm sorry, not a bum fight, a street fight.
That's bum fights. Why not?
We're crowdfunding for the Courtney boxing match, so everybody keep your eyes peeled for
Bare
those
knuckle
links.
boxing.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else besides that. If anyone has any
Wait, I
questions,
didn't
though.
ask KP. I would love to know. So, what did it feel like did you see immediately when Poppy was like, "We were trying to hide you. We were just trying to do this discreetly"? Were you automatically like, "No, bitch, you were trying to be the headline writer on this event. Like, how dare you?"
She was pretty possessive pretty early on, so it was pretty easy for me to kind of pick up on that. And then when the stinger was when Courtney said that she was sharing DMs with me and her to Courtney, and I was like, oh well, I didn't I didn't let her do that, and it should be common, like, as Malcolm said on the other stream, it should be common sense to not share screenshots with other people unless there's, like, sensitive information, like, unless there's something like this going on where there's pedophiles or something. So, so yeah, that pissed me off, and then I was like, okay, I'll still do this, I'll still talk to Courtney, Poppy can get all her fucking updates from Courtney, and be done with it, but that wasn't good enough for Poppy.
Okay, sick.